Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video we're going to learn how to crochet this tutu dress, and if you prefer you can make it as well as a crocheting dress by changing the colors to white. So let's go ahead and see how to start. The yarn that I'm going to use to crochet my dress is Alize Cotton Gold, which is a summer yarn, and it's 55% cotton, 45% acrylic, 3.53 ounces and 361 yards. This is a lightweight yarn, and I'm going to crochet with a 3mm crochet hook. So let's go ahead and start. Before we start though, what I want to mention is we need to have measurements for the top part so it comes out right and it fits correctly on the person that we're crocheting for. So what some of the measurements that we need to have is I need a measurement of the neck of the person I'm making this shirt for, the top part, and I want to go a little off on the one shoulder and a little off on the other shoulder because the top part is going to be a spaghetti strapped shirt. So I want to be a little off on the one shoulder and a little off on to the other shoulder, and that's how big my beginning chain is going to be. In addition, I want to have the arm opening so I know up to how many centimeters I'm going to be crocheting increases. So as I go through and I crochet my increases, I'm going to stop crocheting and start working one stitch in every stitch when I reach my arm opening. Okay, I also want to have a chest perimeter and a chest circumference and a stomach circumference, so you know that the top part you're crocheting fits correctly on the person. So I'm going to start from the top, from the neck, the measurement that I have, and then I'm going to go working downwards. I've already started with my beginning chain and I've started with 30 chains. This is being made for a 7-year-old, okay? And we are going to be working double crochet. So in order to start my row with double crochet, I'm going to start crocheting from the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So put your hook in the 4th chain and work your first double crochet. So by doing this, the first 3 chains that we leave count as our first double crochet, and the stitch that we just made in the 4th chain counts as our second double crochet. So we start counting from 2. Next chain, 3, next one, 4, next one, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and keep crocheting up until you have a total of 28 double crochet, because I started with 30 chains. And when we work our first row with double crochet, out of the total chains that we begin with, row 1 will have a total of 2 less stitches. So since I've started with 30 chains, I'm going to have a total of 28 double crochet in the end of row 1. So when I finish row 1, I'm going to turn my video back on and see how to start row 2. I've completed row 1 with a total of 28 stitches, and now I'm going to start row 2. So in every row that we're going to be starting up until we reach the point where we're going to stop working the increases, we are always going to be starting with 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn your work. So those 4 chains, the first 3 count as my first double crochet for this row, this one over here. Now if I was going to crochet regularly and not work increases, the chain one space that I've made counts as the second stitch for the row, and I would crochet in the third stitch. So I've worked one double crochet and a chain one space, and the chain one space is my increase. So I'm going to go right ahead and work a double crochet in the second stitch for this row. And we're going to finish the row the same way, okay? So now we're going to be working one double crochet in every stitch up until the second from the end, the second from last stitch for this row. So one double crochet in every stitch, one stitch in the next stitch, one double crochet in the next one, one double crochet in the next one, one double crochet in the next stitch, one double crochet in the next one. Now keep working one double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the second from the last stitch. Okay, when I reach here, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to continue from there on. I've almost done crocheting row number 2, and I've made one double crochet in the second from the last stitch. Now I'm left with the last stitch of the row. And if you recall, when we started row 1, we started by crocheting in the 4th chain from the hook. That means that the first 3 chains count as a double crochet. So this is the last double crochet for this row. And in order for this to be an increase, and in order for it to be the same thing as we did in the beginning of the row, I'm going to chain 1, which counts as a stitch, and one double crochet in the last stitch for this row. So in the third out of the 3 chains, I'm going to work my last double crochet for this row. And this was the increase. Now from here on, this is how we're going to be starting our rows. Start with a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this counts as a double crochet in the chain 1 space. The chain 1 space counts as a stitch. So it's the same thing as if I was going to be crocheting 2 double crochet in this very first stitch of the row. Now I'm going to put my hook in the chain 1 space, because the chain 1 space is a stitch, and I'm going to work a double crochet. From here on, we're going to be working one double crochet in every stitch for this row. Okay, one double crochet in the next stitch, one double crochet in the next stitch, one double crochet in the next stitch, and keep working one double crochet in every stitch up until you reach this last double crochet over here. When you reach your chain 1 and your last double crochet, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet right on here and how to start row 4. I've crocheted in every single double crochet for this row, and I'm left with my chain 1 space and my last double crochet for this row. So I'm going to work one double crochet under the chain 1 space, chain 1, and one double crochet in our last stitch. And the last double crochet for this row is the third out of the 4 chains that we crochet in the beginning of every row. Okay, so count from starting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3 chains. So right in here in the 3rd chain, work your last double crochet for the row. Okay, so the chain and the double crochet that we work in the last stitch is the same thing as working 2 stitches in the same stitch. Okay, and this is how our work looks like so far. It has started to open up. Okay, it looks like a trapezoid. Now again, start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 4th row is the last row that we're going to do together on camera. up until we complete finishing the increases. Okay, so always start your row with a chain of 4. Turn your work. Put your hook under the chain 1 space and work a double crochet. As I mentioned earlier, the chain out of the chain 4 that I work in the beginning, the first 3 chains count as a double crochet and the 4th chain counts as a chain 1 space. So it's the same thing as working 2 stitches in the first stitch of this row. Okay, then we always work a double crochet under the chain 1 space. Now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch up until I reach the next chain 1 space. Okay, so now work 1 double crochet in every stitch. Okay, so keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach this last double crochet right before the chain 1 space. When I reach this stitch over here, I'm going to turn my video back on and see how to continue from there on. I've crocheted in every stitch and I'm left with my last chain 1 space and my last double crochet. So I'm going to work 1 double crochet under the chain 1 space. Now I'm going to chain 1 and start counting from the bottom. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 chains, and in the 3rd chain, which is my last double crochet for this row, I'm going to work a double crochet. Okay, so this is how my work looks like so far. See how it has started to open up? Now I'm gonna work off camera up until I finish working my increases, because I'm always gonna be starting and finishing up in the same exact way as I did the past 2 rows. Always start with 4 chains, work a double crochet in the chain 1 space, then 1 double crochet in every stitch in between, then finish up with 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, 1 chain and a double crochet in the last stitch for the row. What I want to mention is that after every new row of increases that we work in the stitches between, after and before the chain 1 space, we are always going to have 2 extra stitches in every row. Okay, so when I finish working my increases, which is up until I have the total centimeters that I measured for the armhole, I'm going to turn my video back on and see how to continue the top part from there on. I've completed working my increases, and starting from the first row up until the last row, I have a total of 20 rows. Now what I figured out, because I've never worked this pattern before, once I reached the measurements for the armhole, I did not have the correct width to fit the kid's chest. So I kept working increases up until I have the correct width needed to fit the total chest of the person that I'm crocheting for. Okay, so it's very important to have the chest circumference. So I want from the one side to the other to have half of the chest circumference that I need. So since mine was about 62 centimeters, from here to here it's about 30 to 31. Okay, so from here on now I'm going to be crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch, no more increases. So I'm going to start by chaining 3. I already had 1 chain, so I just made 2 more. So those 3 chains count as my first double crochet of the row. Now go right ahead in the chain 1 space and work 1 double crochet. Now work 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach the stitch before the chain 1 space again. Okay, so I already have 2 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and keep crocheting 1 double crochet up until you reach the chain 1 space again. I've reached the spot where I'm going to crochet in the chain 1 space, and so far I have 64 stitches. Now put your hook under the chain 1 space and work a double crochet 65, and I'm not working a chain 1 space anymore, so go ahead and just work a double crochet on the last double crochet of the row, which is the chain 3 that we do in the beginning of the row, okay? So I have a total of 66 double crochet. Now what I'm going to do in order to start making the back part as well, and this we're going to do so we don't have to sew in the end to join the two parts. So you can just make the front part and then the back part and join them together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work a big chain to attach it on the other side, and I'm going to be working the front and the back part all at once. So since I have a total of 66 stitches, I'm going to work a total of 66 chains. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and keep working up until you have 66 stitches. I've worked my 66 chains. Now carefully, so your chains won't twist, turn your work. And now I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet for this row, which is the chain 3 that I started my row with. So in the third chain, put your hook and work a slip stitch. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, so work a slip stitch. And now chain 3. 1, 2, 3, which counts as my first double crochet. Now turn your work, and starting from the first chain right over here, work 1 double crochet in each of those 66 chains. I already have my first stitch. Starting from the next chain, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, next one, 5, 6, 7, and keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you have your 66 double crochet. Now once I finish working 1 double crochet inside each of those chains, I'm going to turn my video back on and see how to continue working my row on the front part of my shirt, and then how to finish the row and how to start the new one. I've worked my 66 stitches on the chain that I made. Okay, now continue working on top of the double crochet that we did in the previous row when we were only crocheting the front part. So just continue working, it's the same row, so 66, now on top of the double crochet, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch up until you reach right here, the beginning of the row. So the beginning of the row was when I worked the slip stitch and I worked the 3 chains, which was the first double crochet. This was the beginning of the row. Okay, so right over here when I reach and I work the last double crochet right on here, then I'm going to work the slip stitch and then I'm going to turn my work. So when I reach here, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to continue from there on. I'm almost done with my row, and I've left just so I can work we can work the last stitch together slip stitch and then start a new row. Okay, so I've worked 131 stitches so far. I have 66 in the front and 66 in the back. I should have a total of 132. So far I have 131. Last stitch right over here, 132, and make sure the strap that we started on the back, that it's on its correct side. It's very easy for it to twist around when it's in the beginning. Okay, so put your hook in the first stitch of this row, which was the chain 3 that we started with. So put your hook in that third chain and work a slip stitch. Now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now from here on up until the top part reaches at about the back of the person that we're making it for, we're going to crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch up until the end. Okay, so the chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. Now put your hook in the next stitch, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and keep working 1 double crochet around. When you reach right here at the end, I'm going to turn the video back on. We're going to start the new row together, and from there on we're going to work off camera again. I've completed working my 132 stitches again, so put your hook in the first stitch for this row, which was the 3 chains that we did to begin the row with. Work a slip stitch and again chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. So from now on, so we keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch, starting from the second stitch right over here, because we work the 3 chains in the beginning, which count as a double crochet. So starting from here, work 1 double crochet around, then again slip stitch, chain 3, and turn the work. So in every row that we start, we always chain 3 and we always turn our work. So this is how the front looks like so far. Okay, and this is the back part, which we have started to form. Okay, so keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch up until the total length reaches up to the back, to the lower back. Once I complete that, I'm going to turn the video back on so we can see how to add the tulle in the end. I've completed the top part of my dress, and this is how it looks like from the bottom to the top. Now, see how it's coming down straight? That means that I'm crocheting correctly my stitches. If your work is coming inwards, that means that somewhere you have made decreases, and if your work is opening up, going downwards, that means that somewhere you're doing increases. So that means that somewhere you're doing more stitches than you're supposed to. So make sure you're counting your stitches in every row so you have the correct number of stitches. So this is the front and this is the back. Okay, now let's see how we're gonna crochet down here in order to make the spaces to fit our tulle. Okay. So as always, I am going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, which counts as my first double crochet. Now I'm going to do an extra 2 chains, 4 and 5. So those 2 chains count as a chain 2 space. So that means that I'm going to skip 2 stitches and work a double crochet in the third. So let's go ahead and see how to do that. Turn your work as we always do. Skip the first double crochet, skip the second one, put your hook in the third, and work a double crochet. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2 stitches, put your hook in the third, and work a double crochet. So each of those chain spaces substitutes one stitch from down here. It substitutes a double crochet. So that's why when we chain 2, we skip 2 stitches and make a stitch in the third stitch right over here. So chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2 stitches, put your hook in the third and work a double crochet. 1, 2, skip 2 stitches, put your hook in the third and work a double crochet. So keep working this pattern up until you complete this row. I'm almost done with my first row, and what I did is, see how here I did my double crochet, chain 2, I skipped my 2 stitches and worked a double crochet in the third stitch, which was the last stitch for this row. Now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the first double crochet of this row, which is the third out of the 5 chains that I did in the beginning of the row. And this is how the work looks like. Now, depending on how many layers of tulle you want to add on your work, that's how many rows of this filet crochet you're gonna make. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, because we're gonna make a second row. And I start with 3 instead of 5 because I want to work a double crochet in this first stitch over here. So I'm going to make a double crochet in the first double crochet of the row. Then again chain 2 and work a double crochet on top of the double crochet of the previous row. Chain 2 and double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 2 and double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 2 and double crochet on top of the next stitch. And keep working again your squares up until you finish this row as well. I'm almost done with my second row, and see how here I'm left with only a chain 2 and the stitch that I started my row with. So go ahead and chain 2 and work a slip stitch on the first double crochet for this row, which was my chain 3. Okay, now chain 1. So this is how our work looks like. Now, depending on the result that you want to have on your dress, you can work more rows of the squares of the filet crochet that we just did. And in every chain 2 space, we're going to be adding our tulle. So now, if you want to make more colors, if you want to make the bottom part colorful, you can add a row of, let's say, baby blue tulle, and then the next row with beige, and then you can add white, depending on the result that you want to give on your dress. And we always start adding the tulle from the very bottom row. So I'm going to start here and go around, and when I finish this row, I'm going to go on the next row over here, because if we start adding tulle from this row up here, it's going to be difficult to pull up the tulle, so you can add the other one on the next row. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close off this part of our work, and we're going to do the straps. Once we do the straps, we're going to add the tulle in the end. Okay, so we've already chained 1, so cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So let's go ahead and see how to start the straps. Okay, so now we're gonna crochet the straps, and I want to make mine to be in X shape. So this strap from the right side we're going to attach on the left side, and the left side strap we're going to attach on the right side. So in order for the straps to be attached in the same spot in both sides, so our the top part of our dress is balanced, what we're going to do is I'm going to start counting from the first double crochet that we did on our chain that we worked for the back part. Okay, so this is my first double crochet, and I'm going to count 24 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So right here I'm going to attach my first stitch marker, and depending on the size, you want both straps to be right about in the middle, somewhere about here. Okay, so you're going to count as many stitches as you need up until you have this amount of space in between them. Now start counting from the same first double crochet on the opposite side as well. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24. So right here we're going to attach our second stitch marker. Okay, so now we are going to work the first strap on camera, and the second one we're going to do off camera. So I'm going to attach my yarn in the first double crochet right here on the top. Grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and chain 1. Now start working chains up until this chain reaches down here on the left side stitch marker. So already worked one chain, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and keep working chains up until it reaches down here on the left side stitch marker. I've worked my chains and I have a total of 57. Now what I want is when I attach the stitch, when I attach the chain to the stitch that I've marked, I want to have a little space up here, which is the space that I want the strap to go around the shoulder. Okay, so we do not want it to be straight tight over here. We want to have a little space over here for it to go around the shoulder. Okay, so I've worked 57 chains and I am going to attach into the left stitch marker over here. So make sure your chain has not twisted. Take out the stitch marker, and instead of attaching the stitch right here on the top loop, because the top loop is going to get too loose because we are going to attach, because we're making the strand, so most of the weight of the yarn is going to be held by those stitches. So what we're going to do is I am going to put the hook right in between, right here on the double crochet, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. Chain 1, and now I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to work one single crochet on top of every chain that I've made. So starting from the first chain down here, one, next one, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you have all of the numbers of the chains that you've made. So I've made 57 chains, so I'm going to have 57 single crochet. I've worked 56 stitches so far, and we're going to do the last one together. This is the chain that we started with, 57 single crochet. Now because I want to make my strap a little wider, what we're going to do is I'm going to put my hook right here in the second stitch from the top part over here. I'm going to put my hook in the second stitch and I'm going to work a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work so I'm seeing the opposite side of the stitches. Okay, so starting from the first single crochet, start working single crochet in every stitch again with a total of 57 stitches in the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the reason we're doing this is because we want our strap to be strong and not get loose once it's being worn. Plus, if you leave such a thin strap on your dress, it will not look nice. So we need our strap to be a little wide for it to look nice on our dress. Okay, so keep working one single crochet in every stitch up until the end. Once I reach the 56th stitch again, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to end this row. I'm almost done with my second row of single crochet. I've done my 56th stitch. Now put your hook in the next one. 57, and in order to close the second row of single crochet, you have to put your hook right in the next stitch from the back part. Put your hook in the next stitch and work a slip stitch as well. Now, because I want to do a third row just to make it a little wider, a third row of single crochet, what we're going to do is go ahead and work a slip stitch right in the next double crochet as well. Now chain one and turn your work. Now this is going to be the third and last row of single crochet. Make sure you do not get confused with the slip stitches that we've made. This right here is the first stitch of the row, right here, which was the 57th when we were doing the second row of stitches. Okay, so start working your single crochet. One, next one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep working single crochet up until we reach the 56th. Once I reach the 56th stitch, I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to work the 57th and how to close this row. I've worked 56 single crochet. Now let's work our 57th, and we're going to put our hook right in the next stitch right here from the top part. Put your hook in the next stitch right here and work again a slip stitch. Chain one, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So this is how our first strap looks like. Okay, right over here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work the second one off camera in the same exact way, but what you have to be aware of is see how every time that we were working our slip stitch, we were going outward. So when you attach your work here, when you're going to work the slip stitches for the next rows, you're going to have to go outwards as well. This way, both of the straps are going to be equal. Okay, so go ahead and do the next one off camera, and then I'm going to turn the video back on and see how to attach the tulle. I've completed creating my straps, and this is how my work looks like so far. See how here we have attached the stitches, and in this space, in this spaces over here, if you do not like it to look like this, you can add a flower or a heart. You can attach an applique so you can hide those stitches where we attach the straps so they're not visible. Okay, so in the end we're going to weave in all of our ends. What we're going to do now is we're going to see how to attach the tulle on our work. So what I do is I lay open all of my tulle and I fold it up until it's easy for me to cut it. Okay, so you fold it 4 or 5 times, as many times as you need for it to be easy for you to cut. And I'm cutting straps that are about 10 centimeters wide. So if 10 centimeters right over here, this is my first strap, then the next one, and so on up until you finish. Now what you have to do is you have to measure from the lower back up until where you want your dress to reach up to. So I want mine to be up to the knee. So for the kid that I'm making this for, that's about 50 centimeters. So I'm gonna cut my strap, and when I lay it open like this, from the one corner to the other, it has to be 100 centimeters, twice as long. Okay, so I want from the lower back up to the knee, it's 50 centimeters. So I want each strap to be I want when I attach the tulle on my dress to be 50 centimeters long. So that means that when it's lay open, it's 100 centimeters, twice as long. So when you fold it in half, you have your 50 centimeters. Well, my piece is longer than 100 centimeters, so I'm going to have to cut in the end. So when I measure from here to here, it's 50 centimeters, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're folding in half the tulle, attach it on the bottom row, on the bottom chain 2 spaces, and we're attaching the tulle in the same exact way we attach fringes on crochet projects. So see how here we have the loop, put your fingers through, grab the 2 pieces, pull them through the loop, and tighten up carefully. And here we go. So you can make your straps a little wider, but no more than 15 centimeters, just so they can fit nicely through the chain 2 space. Okay, so go ahead and finish through all of the first row, and when I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on and see how to start the next one. I've completed attaching the tulle. Unfortunately, the space that I have over here is not enough. Oops, it's not enough for you to see how it really looks at this point. So because the chain 2 space, when I was adding 1 fringe of tulle, gave me enough space next to it, I added 2 fringes of tulle in each chain 2 space. So I added 2 pieces in every chain 2 space. So because my dress has already gotten a lot puffy, the tutu bottom, what we're gonna do is, instead of adding a second row of tulle, I decided to make a little belt. So what I'm gonna do, okay, let me make it easy to see. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I cut beige tulle, and it's as long as for the tulle to wrap the dress around once, to go around once over here, and a little more, just so we can make a bow on the back. Now what we're gonna do is I'm taking my tulle, and see how we have this chain 2 spaces over here. Instead of adding tulle fringes as I did previously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tulle from the top through the bottom of the chain 2 space and just take it through, because what we're doing now is we're creating a belt. Now I'm going to skip the next chain 2 space, and I'm going to go in the chain 2 space after that, and I'm going to repeat the same process. Take the tulle from the top through the bottom of the chain 2 space and just pull it through. Okay, see how it looks? It covers up the space that we have, those little squares that we have over here, so they're not visible. Now, again, we're going to skip the next chain 2 space. I'm skipping the next chain 2 space, and I'm going into the chain 2 space after that, and repeat the same process. Okay. So go ahead and do that all around up until you reach back here again. Once I come back here again, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how we're going to create the bow. I've completed wrapping around all of the tulle around the belt over here, and this is the front. Okay, so what we're going to do now with the leftover tulle, we're going to make a bow. Just make a bow regularly as you always do. Okay, open up the tulle on the one side and on the other side as well, and you want to cut the leftover tulle over here so it's equal on both sides. Okay, what you can also do is keep going and wrap the tulle around in the leftover chain 2 spaces over here and on the other side as well, and on the inside part of your dress, sew the two parts of the tulle together and make a separate bow if you want to make it bigger and richer. And go ahead and around the tulle around your palm as many times as you want. Okay, then through the middle of this that you wrapped around your palm, wrap around the tulle so you have the two sides of your bow, and sew that part on the back side right here in the center of your dress. Okay, but in this video we're just going to do a simple bow. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.